Hi everybody, it's Katie back with another episode of my vlog, and it is Sunday, so that means it's time for our Cinema Club Sunday Roundup. I'm excited to hear about what movies you guys watched this week. You always give me such cool recommendations from your lists, and here's what we watched this week. We actually started the week on Monday, which was 4/20, with the debut of the short film Budfoot, which is a stoner metal thesis on the creative process. I love that description of this movie. It's 16 minutes long. It is a horror movie. It is directed by Tim Rice and James Sizemore, and it is starring our buddy Skinner. And that's how I heard about it. And it is totally creative, totally fun, totally awesome. You guys owe it to yourselves to spend 16 minutes watching this movie. I'm going to put a link down in the description below. We absolutely loved it. I don't want to say too much about it, but it is a psychedelic, blacklit excursion into the mind of an artist who is possibly crazy, possibly high, possibly exposed to too many weird art chemicals, possibly being controlled by demonic forces. Who knows what's really going on? I'm going to leave it to you guys to watch out. I really don't want to say too much about the plot on this one. We loved it. It's visually stunning. There's some great gags in it. The way the story is told is fantastic. It's almost a one-man show, which is pretty darn cool. It's a great, really fun, really awesome, modern, short horror movie, which you guys need to see. Budfoot. Again, I'm going to put the link below. Just watch it right after you watch this because it's fantastic. The next night we watched, as I promised last week, The Greatest Show on Earth from 1952. This is the movie directed by Cecil B. DeMille, starring Charlton Heston, Betty Hutton, and Jimmy Stewart. And it follows the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus around on their, I think it's like 1951 season. It has the actual circus in it, the actual circus animals, the actual circus trains, the big top tents, the behind the scenes guys who set up the big top tents. They're all in the movie. And then there's this Hollywood sort of story superimposed on the top of that with these big name actors in this, very dramatic story about whether the circus is going to be able to go out for their season or not. And a competition between two headlining trapeze stars who both are, vying for the center ring and the audience's attention. It's a great film. It's really interesting because it is it's almost a documentary that just actually follows the circus, but not quite. It seems a lot like DeMille's sort of love letter to the circus in general. It's full of drama, it's full of action, it's full of actual circus acts. And the centerpiece of the movie, sorry, spoiler alert, is an incredible train crash scene. So totally recommended. Looking back through history at a movie that is 60 years old, 70 almost at this point, it's, we have different sensibilities now. People are opposed to circuses now, the way animals got treated at circuses now. So I get it if, maybe people wouldn't want to watch it because of that, but it's kind of cool because the particular animals in this film were already exploited 70 years ago. So you can watch it now and, no current animal is being harmed or mistreated or anything like that. And the story itself is pretty great. The best part of the entire movie for all of us is Jimmy Stewart. He plays a clown who mysteriously never takes his makeup off, not even between performances. And I'm not going to say why, because, I like you guys to go in without knowing every single thing about a movie. But that was everybody's favorite character in the movie is, of course, Jimmy Stewart as this clown character. Betty Hutton does a great job in the lead role as the trapeze artist. Of course, I love her in Annie, Get Your Gun, and I immediately want to show the kids that now. But they're, old school musicals is a little bit much for them, so I have to kind of space those out sometimes. But I think I'll put that on the list for coming out because that's one of my favorites also. So, Greatest Show on Earth, totally recommended if you are into the history of the circus, actual circus arts, circus performers, all that stuff. Also, the behind the scenes look at the circus is pretty cool. There's a bunch of different segments where they just show you like how much work it takes to set up one of those big top tents and what a coordinated effort of road crew guys it takes to do that work. And that's pretty cool to be able to see. So Greatest Show on Earth, 1952. You guys will love it. And as part of our required Charlton Heston viewing, there's a whole list of required Charlton Heston movies. We've almost made it all the way through the list. I think the only ones we haven't seen now are The Omega Man and Agony and the Ecstasy. But I'll let you guys go. I'll put it down in the description also what our Cinema Club required Charlton Heston viewing list is. And Greatest Show on Earth is definitely part of that. So the next night after that, we were on our own. Sean and I, the kids just wanted to do something else in the evening. And I said to Sean, what do you want to watch? And he said, something really violent. And I said, all right, let me see what I got. And I pulled out Sicario from 2015, directed by Denis Villeneuve. This is the movie that is starring Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, and Josh Brolin. Emily Blunt plays a FBI agent who gets roped into this task force to go down to Mexico to capture one of the cartel bosses down there. But as these movies tend to do, as she gets into her mission, she starts finding out that maybe it's not quite what she signed up for and something else might be going on. I don't want to say more than that, but it is a action-packed crime thriller. If you guys like that genre, you will love this movie. The action scenes are great. The way the story unfolds is really cool. The use of photography in the movie is great, especially aerial photography. There's incredible aerial shots. Whenever anyone's going somewhere in a helicopter or plane or something, there are these aerial shots that are just these kind of slow, peaceful takes over various sections of the landscape, which are such a contrast with the rest of the movie. I really, really enjoyed the photography on this one. Benicio del Toro is great. He's very scary in his role. Very, very effective. All around, great movie. If you like, high action, crime thriller type things, definitely go for Sicario. We haven't watched any of the sequels yet, but I think we might in the future because we both enjoyed that one quite a bit the other night. And then, speaking of Mexican drug cartels, we finally finished watching Ozark on Netflix. So, finally ready to talk about that one. Have you guys been watching this show? We dipped into it a few weeks ago and just got hooked. And we've been watching it every night that the kids don't want to watch a movie. And usually every night after the movie, we've been watching 1 or even 2 episodes because that's how good this show is. So this is a Netflix original. They just put the 3rd season out. I highly recommend going back to the beginning of season 1 and watching all 30 episodes in a row. It's an incredible show. The basic story is you have Marty Bird, who is played by Jason Bateman, who is a financial advisor in Chicago who is also laundering money for a Mexican drug cartel. And everything kind of goes tits up right in the first episode when he's living in Chicago and he has to flee with his family to the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri and set up his various money laundering operations there. And of course, as with any of these shows where people are doing something illegal and trying to keep it secret from other people, things just keep going more and more sideways and the problem keeps compounding on itself. And just when Marty Bird thinks that he's got, everything solved for his family, oh no, another sort of twist happens and he finds himself deeper in the shit than he was before. And things just keep getting worse and more complicated, and he just keeps getting more and more dug into the situation. So it's a great show. It's got great writing, great acting. Really love all the characterizations. The different characters in the show are great. They also do a great job of making you really like some of the characters at the beginning of the story arc, and then and you really dislike other characters. And then as the story goes along and people's motivations and who they really are inside comes out more, you get flipped on a lot of them. There's a lot of characters you start out liking who you wind up not liking, and a lot of characters who you start out not liking that much who, hang in there for the end because they come around. So I believe the show is still continuing into the future, but, there's only 3 seasons that exist as of right now. My favorite character is, of course, Ruth Langmore. She is fantastic. If you guys have seen the show, you probably love her also because She's amazing. And I was really pleased to see how her story arc and character arc went through the show. I never get turned around on her. I loved her all the way through, but I definitely got turned around on some other characters. Also, without saying too much, I will say, as we approached the last episode after binging this across the course of several weeks, we, both had our guesses as to which characters were going to do what, and I was completely surprised by the end of the third season. So they did a really good job with the way that the story unfolds on that one. It does suffer a little bit from what we tend to call 24-itis. You guys remember that show, 24, from, I don't know, what was that, 15, 20 years ago, with Kiefer Sutherland, where everything just kept getting crazier and crazier and more outrageous, and they just had to keep making it more and more over the top because all these bad things had already happened to this guy. And this show definitely starts to veer into that territory where you're like, really? Come on. But it stays just this side of the line of like believability, whereas 24 just took it way too far, right? So other than that, I would say A+ on the show. Like I said, it does veer close to that line, but not over the line. So, close to the line is okay. So, if you like crime, drama, thrillers, definitely want to check out Ozark on Netflix. The other cute thing about the show is when after the cold open of the show, they have a big letter O on the screen, and then there's like a little, almost like a crosshairs for a target site inside of the O, and then there's 4 little symbols which represent something that's going to happen in the episode. And we were kind of playing I Spy for a while there, where we were trying to find all of the different little symbols from the opener within the episode. I actually stopped doing it because it became a little distracting for me just in terms of enjoying the show itself, but it's kind of a fun little thing that you can also do while you're watching the show. So that's Ozark. And we rounded out the week last night with one of my favorite movies of all time, 2001, A Space Odyssey from 1968, of course directed by Stanley Kubrick. One of the greatest films ever made as far as I'm concerned. And I was really excited to show it to our kids, and we got some mixed reactions, but that's okay. My youngest kids are a little too young for it. Jimmy's only 9, and he definitely, it was a bit of a whoosh for him. His take on the movie was he loved the monkey part at the beginning, and he really didn't like the space drug trip. And I was like, all right, you're 9. That makes sense. Our oldest kid, who actually doesn't want to be part of my vlog, I get it. You don't want to be on your mom's vlog, right? So we'll just say teenager, is the one who's read the book and really wanted to watch the movie. And teenager doesn't normally even want to watch movies with us, but came out of the woodwork to request this one. So I was like, hey, let's watch 2001. It's one of my favorites. So have you guys seen this movie? It's incredible. It is a visual spectacle in its own category as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there's some other movies that come close, but I mean, come on, right? We actually had been planning to go see it on 70 millimeter at the Hollywood Theater, but then coronavirus. So, okay, we watched it streaming on our not very big TV in a not fully dark room. That is the wrong environment to see this movie, and my kids were a little squirrely because of it, and I get it. But they did sit through the whole thing, and they did get a lot out of it. Henry's review was, when stuff was happening, it was awesome. When stuff wasn't happening, it was so boring, I couldn't believe it. He also didn't like the space drug trip sequence at the end, which, again, it's not really for little kids, so I get that. This film is incredible. It is a visual feast. It is a technical, amazing accomplishment. One of the things I always like to remind the kids about when we watch old movies that have incredible visual effects is, hey, this movie is over 50 years old. There's no such thing as computer effects. You have to remember every single thing you're seeing is something that somebody built and actually made, move around, and actually did stuff with, all right? There's not a lot of dialogue in the movie. It's interesting. Kubrick himself actually called it a visual, nonverbal experience, which I really like. Because there's not a lot of dialogue, there's also not a lot of exposition, which also makes the plot a little bit hard to follow for kids. So we did stop the movie in a couple places and I was like, any questions? Are you following the story? Do you understand what's going on? And giving them just a little bit more technical information. Again, teenager has read the book and so has the more fleshed out version of the story to go from. But I don't want to make this movie seem like it's inaccessible. It's just not your standard, hey, I'm going to spell it all out for you narrative experience, right? You have the beginning prologue of the movie where we're at the dawn of man in prehistory and the ape tribe encounters the monolith. Then you have the middle part of the movie where Dr. Haywood is going to the moon to discover the twin monolith on the moon. And then that monolith gives off its radio signal headed for Jupiter. And then you get into the Jupiter voyage part of the movie, which, you know, is the bulk of the movie itself. And I think it's what most people think of when they think of the movie. The ship that goes to Jupiter is called Discovery 1. It's an incredible ship design, one of the best ones I've ever seen. And of course, it has that great rotating section that Dr. Bowman is shown jogging around inside of early on in the Discovery mission. God, what an incredible shot. What an incredible technical achievement. Like, this movie is just amazing. It is just such a visual stunner. I could not make a blog post where I picked like my 10 favorite shots from this movie. Like, it's impossible. It's just the whole thing all the way down. I did needle Jimmy about, was any of the space stuff cool to him? And his favorite part in the space sequences was Hal's shutdown sequence, which I've always loved also. So I thought that was great. I'm kind of incoherent here because this movie is just so good. It's so beautiful. It's so stunning. It's just such a feast for the eyes and the ears. Oh, the soundtrack of this movie is incredible. It is a must see. See it in a movie theater if you can. I beg you. If you've never seen it before, you have to see it at some point in your life. It's not for everyone, but I feel like everyone should see it, if that makes sense. Try to look at it with the historical perspective of a movie that came out in 1968. But that was looking forward to the future and to space travel and to what humans might be able to become in the future. It's just an incredible movie. I have nothing else to say about it except totally required viewing. A+++, 100%. I can't say it's my favorite movie. I can't even say it's my favorite Kubrick movie because I think Dr. Strangelove is actually my favorite Kubrick movie, but it's just incredible and everyone has to see it. Totally required. I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to let you guys tell me what you've been watching this week. Tell me what you're excited to watch. Tell me what we should watch. All right. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you watched some great movies this week. I'll be back in a couple more days with another episode of my vlog. Until then, take care.